Give it a minute. Wait, I just need to swallow my orange. No, don't you dare start like this. Don't you dare start like this. I don't want to start with a filthy bit of ASMR from my lips smacking while I'm eating an orange. And you're going to now as well, because I know you've got the control. You've got the control of editing this podcast. So you're like, I'm gonna use it. Hi Forrest, how are you, my friends?
Oh, that's the hello, Matt. Hello, mate. That's the noise I'm making. That's this week's theme.
It is.
It's but before we get there,
of course.
You've had a very special day this week.
It was my birthday this week.
Yeah, little birthday this week, man. Oh, how was it?
It was good. I'm now 34.
Oh.
So, you know, I'm not in my 40s.
Living the 30s.
No, it was great, mate. I went and saw some shows. I went and saw 2 shows in London, and they were absolutely fantastic. It was all good for the creative soul. And I went and ate at a restaurant called Mildred's, which is a vegan restaurant. And they've got a few, there's a little chain that they have in London. I don't know where else out of London, but it is actually, mate, sick. It's so good. Mildred's. I took some photos. I'll show you some photos, mate. Oh, honestly.
Ooh. What did they say? What did you say? What cuisine now?
Pretty much anything, really. I mean, they do buns. They do. I had sausage and mash, mate. It was amazing.
Ooh.
It was
sausage
amazing.
And mash.
Yeah. They do all kinds of small plates, desserts. I had a tiramisu. And I got to be honest, mate. It was one of the best tiramisus ever. You know when you get tiramisus where it's too coffee-like, it's got too much like coffee taste to it, and it's a bit bitter. It was a perfect balance. It was like a little smack, like a hint, but then it smacks you a bit, and you're like, and then it's creamy, and it was mate. Honestly, it stopped me in my tracks. That's what it did.
Oh, nice. Soph loves a tiramisu. I'm in the middle about a tiramisu. I can have one, but I'm not a creamy double cream. I like liquid cream, but not a fan of the lumpy pumpy.
Liquid cream. What about sticky toffee pudding though? Because Rach had a sticky toffee pudding.
That is my favourite dessert, mate.
Is it?
I would have
go for it.
Annihilated.
Go there, have it, because honestly, and it does genuinely taste like Christmas.
Ooh.
There's quite a bit of cinnamon in it, and it is so, it's like clears the airways. It's pungent. It's great. Oh, it was beautiful.
Well.
It was warming.
We've done a huge advert for Mildred's there, mate. Yeah. Did you wear your Don't Be a Hero podcast t-shirt there, or
no?
Are they giving a sponsorship?
I've now just received 80 quid from Mildred's on my Monzo. So thanks, Mildred's.
You receipt?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant! For mentioning. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That's cool. That was part of the joke.
That was part of the joke, and the punchline just fell by the wayside.
Because for some reason, I genuinely thought you were telling the truth there. What? I was like, wow. Of all moments, right now, Mildred's have given you some kind of refund.
Look, I'm open to any kind of advertisement, or we both are, to be perfectly honest. Or an email. We're still waiting on an email.
Still waiting for an email. Again, our inbox is full. Good old Dan. GGG got in touch, but yeah, literally no emails. You lot are dead silent. We know you're listening.
Yeah, we know
you're there. We can find you.
We can see the numbers.
Can trace you. Yeah, we even know where you are.
We can find
Bob from Belgium. You're still listening every damn week. Although we did hear from Bob.
We did,
once.
but he's still holding anonymity, isn't he? Or she, or they. Who knows?
Or they. Ooh.
Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, even an email from Lee would be appreciated, quite frankly.
Yeah, Lee.
Hello, Lee, mate.
Where's your email, Lee?
I mean, let's be honest. We equally could email. Work on the other. We don't email him, but yeah, that's Lee, come on, Lee, bloody do one. Do an email. No, not do one as in go, but do an email. He's
busy. He's getting married soon.
He is.
Yeah.
We're talking about Lights Camera Rant, by the way.
Yeah.
It's our fellow friend Lee in Australia. I didn't realise we'd be doing a segment on Lee, quite frankly. We've really opened this podcast with some surprises. But yeah, what were you saying about him?
He's getting married soon, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why he's busy. He's too busy. He can't send an email.
He is.
He's getting married soon.
He is. He's got a life.
He's got a life. Yes. Yes. We don't. Anyway, speaking of lives, some get lost in this one.
Yeah, they do. Genius segue.
Thank you.
And yes, tonight, at this moment, we are going to be exploring Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf by Night. It is. We both hadn't seen this.
This is the first time in the podcast history where both of us have not seen a MCU thing. So this is the first time watch for both of us, and I don't think that's ever happened in our near 100 episode time as a podcast. So it's exciting. This is actually quite a monumentous podcast for both of us. And also, I've got some takes about it, but I've also kind of got lots of thoughts around the irony around the fact that they've called it a Marvel presentation. The actual presentation of it, I've got something to talk about. But yeah, no. Do we have like a synopsis? Because it's kind of like an episode. It's kind of like a movie. Should we give it the old format situation?
We do have a synopsis, Matt.
Oh, we do.
We do, mate. Would you like me to read it out?
I absolutely would. But first, what I will say before we do that, dear listener, just want to say thank you. Welcome again to a lovely little episode of the podcast. But we are still currently on the train where we are trying to build up these reviews, these ratings to the podcast. We've got lots of plans coming in for the next few months. And also we want to be building some new audiences, which we have been as well the last few weeks, which has been amazing. So thank you for those that are listening and returned that are still fairly new to the podcast. Please give us a review on Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can give us a 5-star. You can do what you want, really. Just be really supportive and celebratory and share the love, basically. But give us comments, reviews. It really goes a long way, and we would appreciate it. Now I've said what I needed to say. Forrest, give me the summary.
Whoa. Yes, I absolutely can do that. Sorry, I was messing around with someone on the mixer. Right, here we go. Let's go.
I'm going to eat an orange peel. Here we go.
Ooh. On a dark and sombre night, a secret cabal of monster hunters emerge from the shadows and gather at the foreboding Bloodstone Temple, following the death of their leader. In a strange and macabre memorial to the leader's life, the attendees are thrust into a mysterious and deadly competition for a powerful relic hunt that will ultimately bring them face to face with a dangerous monster. Inspired by horror films of the 1930s and 1940s, the chilling special aims to evoke a sense of dread and the macabre, with plenty of suspense and scares along the way as we explore a new corner of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Checking the time?
Jesus!
Do you know what was brilliant about that? I heard you come off mute, and at that point I went, fuck me, he thinks I'm finishing. I'm like, sorry, man. It is...
Wow.
Yeah. But I tell you what that does, though, is when I read that, and I read that this morning, it really did get... Because whilst I was watching it, I immediately thought of Hammer films. I thought of Hammer Studios, horror films, 1920s, 1930s films, and it absolutely does that. I think I did film studies at college, and that was one of the things we explored were Hammer Studio movies, and I really loved that. I loved the fact like this like black and white movie for the most part. But I suppose. Sorry, I've gone straight. But generally, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this. I thought it was unique to the to what we've seen before. I questioned why it was in the MCU and whether it needed to be, but thoroughly enjoyed it, and I quite liked. I liked the fact that it clearly wasn't family friendly, but wasn't ridiculously R-rated for no reason. So it didn't have a lot of swearing, didn't have a lot of unnecessary blood and guts, which is also in keeping with how Hammer Studios work. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Really good comments. I pretty much echo all of that. I really enjoyed it as a standalone thing. I do also query whether it's worth having it in the MCU. It kind of felt like at times I was watching something that was Sony, Marvel maybe, but also, I mean, and that's not a diss to the quality of it. I thought the quality of the presentation and the episode or movie, I don't even know, the feature, was really good, and it kind of gave a new sort of like little dark corner strand of the MCU that clearly hasn't been explored. We got maybe a little bit in Moon Knight, this kind of horror aspect, maybe a little bit in Multiverse of Madness. I think through the lens of kind of light comedy, the little quirks that they had were the typical kind of MCU DNA. That's kind of what made it an MCU thing. I was like, oh yeah, okay, of course, this is MCU. But it did feel like it was very standalone. It did feel like it was very isolated. And I think for the better as well. And I think that's what made it quite watchable, quite enjoyable. And I think it is. And again, I mean, I've never watched this. So this is the first time I've watched it. I didn't have an inkling to watch it because I was aware it was quite separate to everything else and quite isolated against the MCU. But I would argue, and I would say, and I would encourage you, dear listener, if you haven't seen it, please watch it, because it is actually put together really cleverly. And I think the way it's shot, the way it looks, the horror aspect, the 1930s kind of horror as well, going in, the Hammer production, it's just brilliant. I think it presents itself really well. And not just to say that it doesn't have a decent story. It has a fairly easy concept that you can just follow and just... yeah, great, off we go. And then don't really have to learn too much about other characters. You really only learn about two main characters, and we follow those stories. And that's all you need in 55 minutes of a feature. Yeah. Mate, I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to talking about it.
I think the simplicity of it really worked, and I think this kind of encapsulates in many ways what I think it has been missing from Phase 4 in general, which is concise stories, clear stories, simplified, not too many characters, a clear focus as to who we're following and at all times when we're following them, not afraid to not have... Not afraid to not have like a massive focus on other MCU characters or what else is going on in the wider picture, but also that's the reason why I'm kind of fluffing that a bit, is that's a good and bad point for it, I think. But yeah, I really like simple, like, if 55 minutes, fucking beautiful. Mate. For someone like me, mate, that's a lovely watch. 55 minutes, I'm going to go, yeah, I can sit down and watch this.
I watched it last night, and it was just after me finish. I've just caught up now on Mandalorian. So I watched Ahsoka a couple weeks ago, and I'm fully caught up on Mandalorian stuff, and it was about 10:30, and I was like, oh, do I go to bed, or do I watch Werewolf by Night? And I couldn't remember whether it was episodes or it was a movie, and I looked at it. 55 minutes, mate. What a dream. I'm going to talk about it. Brilliant. And I think this is going back on a conversation that I had when we were doing the Miss Marvel series a few weeks ago. And I mentioned about when we are giving an origin story to a new MCU cast member, a new story that's coming into the MCU that's going to be embedded, very much going into the future phases. I think this is kind of how you should do it. Because not to say that the Werewolf by Night isn't going to be turning up at some point. There are hints and rumours that there might be this Sinister Six, Midnight Sun situation going on, where we might have Moon Knight, Werewolf by Night coming into kind of like this dark horror-scape version of the MCU, which I'd love to see. But this is how you should probably introduce your superheroes now. Just give us that 50, 60-minute, 90-minute feature of this hero that we are going to learn about in this self-contained presentation. And then they did the right thing. MCU presentations. Keep that. That's a really good way of doing it. And then we just see all these new characters that get played through. And then once we see that, then actually you could play more into kind of releasing those out when it comes to Secret Wars. Because then you go, oh my God, it's Werewolf by Night. Oh my God, that's amazing. And we've not had to labour through, 8+ episodes of 45 minutes of lengthy storylines that don't need to be lengthied out. You got just convoluted scripts, all that kind of stuff. This is probably how you should do it. And what's a shame is that I actually don't know if we're going to get any more presentations like this going forward. I'm going to look at that up right now.
Ooh, no, I agree with everything you said. I think I think first off, we should talk about presentation. I think that's so black and white on the most part, ends with colour being added, which I thought was a amazing thing to do, which did kind of bring it back to like, okay, MCU, we're like, it's a contemporary series. It kind of went, all right, we've done the homage stuff. Now we're coming back to where we're actually at. But I like the. It's just all of it really works. So location was simple. We just set in basically in one place throughout the whole thing. The look of all of the characters really worked. It was like you got really distinguished characters, so you were never confused who you were watching, which. Sometimes previously in Marvel projects, just because of how many characters there are, you occasionally stumble on who on earth you're actually watching and whether they're good or bad sometimes. But yeah, no, presentation was good. I loved it all. I really liked. At one point, it went all kind of Hunger Games. That was on my head the whole time. That was the moment they went, okay, we're gonna bring all these hunters in, and you're all gonna have to fight for getting this bloodstone and killing this monster. Yeah, 100%. That feels like it's a Hunger Games thing. I got Hunger Games. I also got and I don't really watch it. I've watched a little bit because Soph's obsessed, but of American Horror Story. Have you ever seen American Horror Story or any
Rachel
of the series?
Is into that stuff, and I don't know, she stopped recently, but I've seen the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, and the Harriet Sansom's character Harris, who's kind of the villain of the piece ultimately. She really gave it an American Horror Story kind of the way they kind of, we find out about the death of I can't remember who, but their leader basically dies, and then they open the box and the leader speaks to them through kind of like a weird recorded voice thing, and it go she brings in a kind of like she herself doesn't, she's just human, but she almost has this kind of like witchy, like tribal vibe, like culty, isn't it? Yeah. And I quite like that. I enjoy that. That was nice.
The what made me enjoy her particularly is that she kind of reminded me of Aunt Lydia in
Yes,
and Handmaid's Tale.
Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, she does. Yeah.
I think she's got a likeness from a casting wise as well to Aunt Lydia. But there was this cult like forceful driven evil intentions, but also just incredibly instinctive as well, and like the way that she was still quite very much attracted to her deceased husband, and all that kind of stuff. It was like this could go all kinds of different ways, but I think that's what made it really interesting in terms of her role. I wanted to learn a little bit more about her. It was like, oh god, what's going on with this family? Like, what was the family dynamic? Again, didn't need a flashback, didn't need anything like that. This is just a presentation. But like the dynamic between her and her daughter as well, who was one of the leads. Just trying to get the name. I'm just bolting back now.
Laura Donnelly.
Laura Donnelly. Elsa, yeah. And to see what their relationship dynamic was interesting. We got a nice little tease into it, and I suppose that's probably what the aim was, because if you're just limited to under an hour of doing a new story, well then all you're going to do is go, okay, let's wait for the audience reaction, let's see if they want more, and if they do, then this might become a full series, or it might become its own standalone horror movie, MCU very first official horror movie. It could have it very much felt like it was testing the boundaries of the MCU audience.
Yes.
Yeah,
and I think we're missing, like, and I get it because the villains on the whole need to be superheroes themselves, but you kind of, the more darker we go in the MCU, the more you kind of want an Aunt Lydia, but Aunt Lydia's, she's doing it for the right reasons, even if she's wrong. Where she's not ultimately trying to be evil, Aunt Lydia, whereas whereas Harris, it kind of is, right? And but the reason why I bring in both is I kind of want a villain like that. I like, and it's hard because where does that belong in the wider MCU? But I kind of, like, as a fan of The Last of Us, and as a fan of all of these series that has a kind of like they have really strong female villains, of like where they have ultimately they've got no additional power, their authority, and who they're connected to might have the powers, but I think we lack that. We lack, like, female villains in MCU on the whole have been. I'm thinking now, I'm looking at the Marvels, for instance, which we've seen recently. It kind of fell quite short in regards to their story, their writing. I don't necessarily think acting or casting. I think who was cast it as Zora Ashton. Zora Ashton, is that? I think she's incredible. I think it was just the material was just not. She couldn't bring much to the role, but yeah, I just feel like this really shone a light on having a real good female villain that's more about a sense of uneasiness and a sense of authority, and less about she's got really cool skills that she can fucking smash the hell out of the Avengers.
That's so true. Like, yeah, not just kind of just thinking about, oh, look at all these powers that she's got. No, she's got like ancestral kind of clout, let's use the word, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, you're right, like the authority figure, that's what she was, and there is power in that, and there is ways of making that intimidating, making that worthy of a story. And yeah, like, I was intrigued. She was the one character, probably bar Elsa, she was the one character I was like, I want to learn more from. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was like, oh my god, what's going on there? Like, what was the relationship balances here? And I was just while you were talking there, I was looking at an article, mate, on Forbes. Now, this is an article that's back from October 2022, so it might not be 1000% accurate, but I would say, and this is again prior to, I'd say, Loki Series 2, but of the time of this article, Werewolf by Night was the highest Disney Plus audience score out of everything that's been released from the MCU.
Wow.
Which I think which makes sense. The critics was 92%, and the audience score was 94%. Against, say, for instance, Loki Series 1, which is a critics 92 and an audience of 90.
Yeah, and I'm not shocked. I think ultimately, you know, what we talked about in regards to simplicity, what I don't think, you know, and this isn't just exclusive to Marvel, but I don't think filmmakers quite understand today's audiences can't sit through 3 hours of numerous different plots and that's not because we're, you know, thick as shit and like, oh, not capable. I just think that we are, without getting too political and without getting into something that this is not, most of our lives is working. Right, and we are working more than almost any generation before us, whether that's the amount of years we work, or the amount of hours. And therefore we want short, sharp bursts of entertainment, something that we can just go into and boom, yeah, I've had my hit, you know, and job done. Whereas some of the projects that Marvel pumps out, other studios pump out, it feels like a fucking marathon to watch it, and you're having to jump like endless hurdles to understand the broader picture, and then to understand this, you've got to go and watch 10 other things, and it's okay to drip feed them in, and to be honest, I want that. My argument for this would be that there's not enough of that. There's not enough drip feeding of other MCU properties that they could have done into this hour, right? But they should be Easter eggs. They should be, you know, like a British property, Inside Number 9. So people internationally may never have seen it. Inside Number 9 is one of the best things of this century, in my view. Have you ever watched Inside Number 9?
Mate, I've watched a bit, and I wasn't really like hooked on it. I think at the time, this was years ago. This was, when did it come out, mate? Like 10 years plus years ago?
Oh yeah.
But like I watched a bit. Back then, I don't think I was into that a little bit. Do you know what I mean? In terms of its humour and stuff, it's quite berserky.
But it's very clever, and actually over the years they've got far more sophisticated with what they produce, I think. Yeah. But also they are short, sharp hits of entertainment. They're an hour long. They've all got twists. They're all different genres. There is one particular episode that I'm going to get you to watch because it's from a drama perspective. You'll love it. Okay. The whole episode is Commedia dell'arte.
Oh, that's blind.
It's awesome.
Cool.
It's a bank robbery or something like that.
Oh, cool.
But anyway, and it's short, sharp shops, but they've got a kind of a universe around it, and they bring in small Easter eggs that if you've watched a wider thing, you'll go, oh, yes, they're connected to that. But it's not. That doesn't get in the way of the material of the plot. Whereas MCU are really struggling at the moment to produce something really decent that doesn't require you to then go and watch 10 other things, which I understand is the nature of what they want, because they want you to go and they want you to do what we're doing, which is go through a whole MCU, watch it all, do it all. But if you are going to bring in new audiences and you're going to sustain your legacy, you have to make it appropriate and accessible to everyone.
That's so true. And this again, going back to this, this is a good example of how you can just introduce something lightly, but also still kind of, again, they placed it right at the beginning. They had that introduction, that brilliant kind of, what I loved about the introduction is that it reminded me of, oh God, the Twilight Zone. That kind of weird doo-doo-doo, the kind of like, oh, that weird voice. Do you know the man when he talks like that? It's like, oh, yo. Like, again, I went to my Jeff Goldblum then.
I've never seen the Twilight Zone.
Have you not seen it? They talk like this. Ah, hello. The Twilight Zone. Ah.
Fantastic. Can't wait. Yeah. That's a must watch.
Yeah. I'm hooked. All right. I'm sold. But it gave me that kind of vibe, and the way they introduced the Avengers. They were like talking about the heroes above the world. There was also monsters out there below, and that kind of stuff. And like, oh great, wow, this is a whole new world, whole new dimension. And I immediately was thinking, is this Earth 616? Is this a multiversal world that we're watching right now, or with Werewolf by Night? And I wasn't like, oh my god, I need to know the answers. That was just me going, okay, cool, I'm interested. I'm wondering. That's what, again, talking about that golden thread, all the things that we've learned and know about the MCU. That's what the conversations you want to have. You want to be able to kind of go, oh yeah, no, what about this? What about that? But I wasn't like, I have to now know. I have to know in order to understand this bit. And I think this is what it done really well. It just focused on its story, its sole story about the characters that it's got. And it didn't, and it was simple. You said it earlier, it was a simple story. It wasn't convoluted. It wasn't all these different people coming in, sourcing, with, this, then that, and, we had that with, oh my gosh, like for instance, Falcon and Winter Soldier. We keep, and again, that was something that we did mid last year. And one of the fatal flaws of that series was the fact that it had multiple storylines going through, talking about this rebellion group, talking about how Sam Wilson's going to become Captain America, talking about Falcon's, talking about Bucky's journey in terms of repentance. You had all of these different things that were happening, and also otherworldly things that were happening as well. And we're going to be talking about Secret Invasion soon, and the same thing happens in Secret Invasion. And this was just simple. It was a simple, self-contained story, and like you said, in the same location as well. And that's what I loved as well, is that it confined itself within one space. We were introduced to this kind of meeting room where they met the deceased Ulysses. Was it Ulysses, or was it?
Yes.
Ulysses.
Yeah.
Yep. And they introduced the game and all that kind of stuff. Brilliant. Then we went to the maze. All right, we had a little bit of the maze. We met Ted. We'll talk about Ted in a moment. And then we went back to the little circular bit where they were trapped in the cage. Those are the only locations we really had in this. And that, and that was, those are the two main locations, and that's all we needed. They knew what was great about this is that it's clear that the writers and the production team and the director and the producers, they all knew what limit they were at in terms of what can we do in this kind of 55-minute presentation. Can't do too much. It's got to keep it simple. Let's think about the characters. And it felt like the characters were first in this and the genre around it as well. That's all. And those were really good ingredients to make something watchable. I would watch it again. I really would.
Well, let's talk about the maze. So the characters that we meet are all going to hunt for this relic, basically. So they are hunting the Bloodstone, and they go into the maze. And the maze, it looks like. Did you watch the first series of Squid Games?
Yes, I did. Yes.
And where they all get they put into pairs in the little, and it looks exactly like that. It's the kind of, I suppose, what would you call that? Greek inspired maze, like with all the kind of like marble wall things. It looks a bit like. So really cool. One of the things, and this is so minor, and this just represents like compared to last week when we're just like finding loads of flaws and all that stuff. But I think that for me, we see one character go into the maze, don't we? And I think it's the dude.
Oh.
Is it?
Well, they all go in, don't they?
Yeah, but is it not Jack we watch go in, right? Who gets follow? Who do we see actually walk in? We only see one character go in.
Jack walks in,
and he gets escorted in, and he goes into the right. And my only thing would be is that I think they could have taken a bit more time on that. So you hear the kind of the sounds in the distance. You can hear there's a threat somewhere. You're I mean, unless I'm being absolutely stupid, you are driven to basically believe that the werewolf's going to be in the maze. Right,
that's exactly what I thought.
You're driven to believe that the threat and this whole episode is about what's in that maze, right? And already before anyone walks in there. Now Jack walks in there, and we see Jack go in, and we don't see anyone else go in, and we just jump straight to Jack. But actually, I would have quite enjoyed a bit more of a like watching them go in, like not one by one, all of them, but certainly to have. Because I'm assuming they don't completely know what they're going to find in there. So it would have been nice to have seen like the various different feelings from different people as they emerged in there. Whereas we kind of follow Jack in there, and then everybody's in there, and they're just all hunting and looking around. So that's my only. That's a smallest thing in the world. It's absolutely like normal.
Talking about gripes, mate. That was like a dust of gripe. That was
a smithereen of
a speck of gripe.
A speck of the gripe. But they go into the maze, and then they're all hunting each other. I can't find the guy who's the bigger guy in it. There's one larger guy who's Scottish, I think.
Yeah, he reminds me of Jovan. Kirk Thatcher. Yeah,
absolutely amazing. Like, and I want to see that character more. If the character hadn't perished, I would have loved to have seen that character on more. And and his introduction, it kind of like, I mean, naturally, like he's Scottish, bearded, kind of gave me a bit of a Game of Thrones vibe. I quite like that. Like another character, Viking. That's it, Viking-esque. And again, not a character that we have in MCU.
No,
they're all like skinny, petite, like blokes on the whole. Even bloody Hulk isn't a huge guy, and is So,
but mate, that's so funny you mentioned the Hulk. See, I found connections and parallels in Jack's journey to Bruce Banner's journey in terms of the Hulk. In terms of the way that Bruce Banner transforms into the Hulk, and he was navigating this, and it felt like that there was a similarity with Jack trying to go and understand when he was in the cage, kind of moving forward when they get captured, and him and Elsa are in the cage together, and he goes, "Look, if I'm going to get transformed, I can't guarantee your safety." It's the same thing with the Hulk. So it's completely different personalities that are taking hold, and that was quite interesting. And I would maybe, again, if we were kind of to mention a gripe, maybe there was an opportunity to kind of like lean into that a little bit more. I don't know if you want to kind of be a little bit more obvious and mention like, oh yeah, also, there's, what about the Hulk? So you're a Hulk then? It could have been a line where Elsa could have been like, oh, what? So you say me you're a Hulk? No, I'm not a Hulk. I turn into a werewolf. And then, but like, it felt like there was that connection that I noticed between the Hulk and Jack Russell, but that wasn't what my point was going to be. I was going to go back to the maze. Being in the maze, what I really enjoyed, there was one particular shot when Jack was going into the maze, when the shot craned outwards, and again, just kind of talk about production here. It was really great. You got a really good scope on how big this maze was, but also you saw a really brilliant shadowed figure that was walking around the maze. And you're right, it did allude to the fact that it was the werewolf, but it's not. It is Ted, and Ted is the monster. And I don't know what type of monster this is. It's kind of like it's quite squiddy, but like Groot-like, but not. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Mossy character.
Yes.
Like Swamp Thing. It's like MCU Swamp Thing.
It's like a character's been stolen from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
It's like a pirate. It's like when they go to the dark side on Pirates of the Caribbean. They go, I can't remember what it's called, but they flip over, don't they, and go to the dead world, don't they? And Ted and the just before we go on about Ted, who I love, I absolutely adore Ted. So about the maze, a couple of things. One, like the how they've made that maze was quality, because it had all of these open window slots, all of these lots of cutouts, so that whenever they filmed a shot, you were constantly looking at the background to see what was emerging. Because there were so many opportunities for something to be in the background, or foreground even. It was really good shots, strong shots there, but also leads me on to Hammer. So one of the things about Hammer Studios horror films are that they were not known for jump scares. So it was a lot of horror, it was a lot of threat. There was and there was a lot of shots where you're like, oh, anything could happen now. But ultimately, there wasn't a jump scare. Right, there might be a loud burst of music, but it would normally follow after the actual action, or done in a way that you're not like shitting. Oh my god! And what I loved about this is because it was in homage to that. There was no jump scares. It felt very much like as soon as they entered that maze, there was about to be some very, very scary moments. But they never came. And it leads us on to Ted, who ultimately we meet Ted in a hedge, petrified.
I know, it's so sweet. I loved how they humanized him in terms of the presentation, and in terms of Ted is Ted is the other known name of Ted is the Man Thing, of which and this is via Screen Rant, first appeared in 1971 from Marvel Comics Savage Tales. So there's a huge history with this character, and for any comic fans, I'm sure that was quite a big deal for you in terms of seeing this kind of, let's say, it's almost not OG, but an older character from the MCU coming in. But Doctor he was a biochemist known as Dr. Ted Sallis when he was recruited for a special project to replicate a certain super soldier serum that was created for Captain America. The project was known as Project Gladiator, took place in Florida in the Everglades, and caught the attention of a terrorist organization called the Advanced Idea Mechanics, which are called AIM, who sought to hunt down the new serum. During an attack from AIM, Ted injected himself with the serum to keep their hands off the sample before crashing his car into the swamps, which means he's got super soldier serum in him, and with that he then transformed into the Man Thing from falling into a swamp with this car. That's pretty cool.
That is really cool.
I think that's that. If you want to carry on with a story there, that's an OG story there.
I would also like to, whilst we're talking about Ted, I would like to make a request to Marvel Studios. I would like a team up movie where it's almost like I can imagine you've got, because Ted comes across as quite unconfident, a bit shy, a bit nervous, and I'd like a team up movie. I'm not going to say who with until I've got the contents of the movie out there, Matt, as an almost surprise for everybody, anticipation in everybody's ears right now, but is a team up movie where he is trained, the courage is trained, it's a little kind of like a from boy to man type movie, right? Yeah. And do you know who I would team him up with?
Go on.
Who would you team Ted up with?
Who would I team Ted up with?
Everybody in the MCU that we've met so far. Who do you think I'm thinking of would be a great pair up?
Well, he's a hero. I wouldn't say he's not a baddie. The Grandmaster. I don't know.
No.
I literally picked anyone out there.
Korg.
How far can I go? Korg
and Ted. I would pay good money, and it would be a comedy.
Yeah.
It would be a comedy movie where Korg invites Ted to and creates like an assault course of confidence, basically, and he just brings him Ted out of his shell, and the both of them, like, you know, he meets Korg and his clan. And finds out their ways. Korg tells a couple of decent stories, you know, and then Korg brings him in, and maybe him and Thor go for a little mission somewhere. I'd love that.
Oh, I love that.
Let's get Ted and Korg, mate. That's what I want in life. Gives Korg some purpose as well.
But maybe Korg finds love
in Ted. Oh, now that, well, what a beautiful. You got unconfident, nervous Ted, and you've got quite overly confident, just lovely Korg. That would be heaven. That is a rom-com of the ages, mate. A Marvel rom-com with Korg and Ted is so left field, but would be so amazing. Do you imagine? And
that is brilliant.
It ends with Thor officiating the wedding.
That
would be amazing. That is.
Oh, the goats can be like the flower girl, boy. You know, it could just like walk down. And just like throw the confetti.
Throwing confetti. That would just be insane. What a beautiful movie. Anyway, I digress.
That. I love that. So I mean, talking about that's what you would like to see as an MCU special presentation. What other kind of introduction of characters or certain MCU special presentations you'd like to see going forward? Because I've found an article which I'll share some, but I'll get your thoughts first.
Ooh, and they can be Marvel characters we've already met,
or not? Yeah.
Or not. Well, I mean, we're not comic book people here, mate. But I think I would like. I tell you what would lend itself to a special. Actually, there's two. One controversial, and one that would be good. So the good one would be who is the Agatha's, like, who does Agatha respond to? Who's like the overriding character in that? Mephisto would be Mephisto, because I feel like we need a short, concise special to introduce us to Mephisto, because I think ultimately that's a massive character and they've got a big story, but I think we need a nice, clear, like, short special to just introduce us, so that it would be good as a preamble for Agatha Cavern of Chaos, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
What a preamble would that be, to see her beginnings before because I think the Agatha series is supposed to be a sequel to Wanda, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So it would be nice to have a prequel first.
Or is it? Wait, or is it? I don't know, actually. I think they jump forward and back. I think there's a bit of a time switch.
Okay. Timey-wimey.
Maybe I don't know.
So that would be a good one in my eyes. Controversial one, which I can't wait. I'm staring at your face when I say it. Would be Harry Styles and the Troll.
Oh, what those where are those characters? That just immediately made me angry. Did you just see that? Did you see the reaction? I just went, blood just boiled to the top of my head. Oh my god.
The most useless excuse for an end credit scene ever is to meet two characters that we've heard absolutely nothing about.
Honestly, are we really supposed to believe that Harry Styles is Thanos' brother? Like, really? No.
It would be a great special, eh? If they're good enough characters, good enough story. What a nice special.
No, yeah, that's what it's for.
And also, put them in a special, never see them again. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Show us why they're there in the first place, and then job done. That'd be nice.
That's it.
What about you?
In terms of what I would like to see as a special presentation, I mean, I haven't thought about my own thoughts.
Ooh.
I'd like to see a Valkyrie one.
Oh.
I know we didn't really talk about Valkyrie that much in yesterday's episode when we were talking about Thor: Love and Thunder, and she had quite an integral role. But I would like to see a special presentation of a mockumentary version
Ooh.
of her running New Asgard. So she's got a documentary crew.
That would
and she's
be
like, yeah,
insane.
we're just opening up this, and there's all this chaos that happens around, Valkyrie and stuff. The fact that she's looking for love and she can't find the right person. Like, I think there's something in that. I've also said that before about the Nova Corps. Like, I'd love to see a John C. Reilly Nova Corps mockumentary, Guardian style.
That is so right. We need a mockumentary because they keep doing all this comedy, but not like it's never done in the right way or format. Put on a mockumentary where unlimited comedy is allowed, and exactly. Like New Asgard would be perfect for it. Nova Corps would be perfect for it. It's a few destinations. Like that would be like another one would be good. Would be how Guardians 3 ended with them going to a new place, didn't it? Like they've got a new home, haven't they? Have they? Or have I made that up? Did they go back to? No, they're all on like a new planet thing now, aren't they? Didn't it all get? No, they.
No, I think they're still on Nowhere. Nowhere's fine.
Oh, they bought people to Nowhere, didn't they?
Yeah.
I'm getting well confused. Yeah. They bought. Yeah, there was a whole thing at the end about all these people running to Nowhere.
Yeah, they saved a lot from thingy.
The ground.
We'll find out in a minute because we've got to review that in about 4 or 5 weeks
very
time.
true. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a few weeks' time. But yes, basically, Nowhere would be good. Nowhere would be a good mockumentary as well because of like that's a real vast array of characters, and you could have like a couple of Guardians characters in the background. Having Rocket in a mockumentary would be.
That would be so
I've told you once, I won't tell you again. Stop fucking filming me, all right? And he's like, he's like, if you made it like an adult one, he could be having like sex with like some someone. I've told you to stop fucking. It would be amazing. It would be amazing. Yeah.
So according to CBR.com, there's been already chats about this with the MCU special presentations. There's calls for a Howard the Duck special presentation. That would work. That would be hilarious.
That's another character that we got teased and never saw again.
Yeah, there should be some serious dealings with that. I think they've got to sort that out. He's been around since kind of Guardians, OG Guardians, first Guardians.
Yeah.
Like that's again, we said the same thing about Sif. Sif has been somebody that's been around for a long time and deserves more of a story. Howard the Duck, yeah, absolutely. You got introduced this really interesting, funny character, and there's been no payoff, and it's been nearly 20 years. Like,
it is, yeah, and yet we're getting the same bollocks over and over again. It's mad. Yeah.
So there's also calls for a Marvel 1602. Which I think we're kind of. I don't know if we're kind of getting that in What If Series 2. I haven't watched it yet, which is another one that we haven't watched and we're going to review at some point. But this is an Elizabethan kind of view of the Marvel world and how superheroes and it goes back to kind of the witch trials and that kind of stuff. So it's got Agatha kind of vibes within it. So maybe we will get that a little bit in Agatha and callbacks, but like what the world was like in Elizabethan time around superheroes. I'd be interested in that. That sounds really good. Have you heard of the Rawhide Kid?
The Rawhide? No.
So the Rawhide Kid is a really old kind of almost one of the first comic book heroes that kind of came out with Stan Lee and Bob Brown and Jack Kirby. Johnny Rawhide Kid is a Western-inspired hero turned outlaw from the 19th century. Although he has often travelled in time in more recent times, recent stories, Rawhide's best comics depict him in an American Western. Ooh. So there's that. I think there's potential within that. That might be quite interesting to see and fun.
Yeah. Nice.
We don't have a gunslinger, do we, really?
No gunslingers. Don't think so. But yeah, nice. So I definitely think specials are the way to go. Like if we're basing off of this one, for sure. I think one of the final things I'd say, obviously there's a whole segment where we find out where that Jack is the werewolf all along. He is put against Laura Donnelly's character Elsa. Did you say it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Elsa and Jack are put in a cell. The bloodstone it results in him being in werewolf form. So he comes out, kills everybody. Whole scene, lovely scene. And then at the very end, we go outside. We see Jack and Ted, and the light colour starts to appear. I think we first see it with Ella. Actually, Ella's sat in a chair, and then Ella's burst into colour. And this Matt is where I thought we were going to get a Marvel reference, because we see Jack and Ted, and then the camera pans up and we see the sky and it's like quite a long shot. And I thought, okay, are we about to see something dash across the sky, which could be Loki related, Kang related?
They could have the Watcher, for instance. I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
The Watcher,
The Watcher.
Silhouette, yeah, exactly. There was so many opportunities there to just have teased something, and I felt like it was a kind of a missed opportunity to have not done anything there. And I was like, well, because even if you tease something, it doesn't ultimately mean that they're next going to appear in that thing, as we've discovered by Harry Styles. So they could have just teased it and allowed us to have a bit of an Easter egg to the wider universe, but sadly, not the case.
I mean, again, I feel like they were really just testing the boundaries to see what the reaction was. And as you can see through the ratings, it's been really positive. But again, the problem is that there's been so much outcry about kind of quantity over quality. And they've quite clearly, obviously, we all know this year's very low in terms of what's going on in the MCU. Only thing really now thinking about kind of what's coming forward from an MCU standpoint is Deadpool 3. And we might get a trailer that drops tomorrow, by the way, because there's rumours that Super Bowl trailer for Deadpool 3 might be coming out as well. So when this episode uploads next Wednesday, we might have one. So we'll be excited to talk about that maybe next week. But I think this is, just to echo what you said, this is the way forward. I really would argue that this could be something that the MCU could save themselves on by just presenting something like this going forward. But there are no plans to, I don't think. And hey, whatever, it's up to them really. It's difficult to tell right now. Really is difficult to tell where stories are going, where characters are going. Like, for instance, there's calls for, like, Sony want, with Spider-Man 4 after No Way Home, they want another crossover movie with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, but apparently there's rumors that Tom Holland doesn't want that, and he wants it to go back to street-level Spider-Man. There's still, like, just different opinions, left, right, and centre about what's going on, who's in what, who's in Deadpool 3. The Thing, we'll talk about Fantastic Four. The Thing was apparently shot being in costume, and apparently the guy that played him completely debunked it. It was, well, that's, if he is in it, that's not me. And, so, look, let's all just ride it out. It's difficult to tell, and it's difficult to report upon, and difficult to kind of, like, give exactly what is accurate news, which is always unhelpful, especially when we're doing a podcast talking about the literal things that are coming out. But I think, going back to Werewolf by Night, I think this was a really great contained story, and I would watch it again. I was really it was just an easy watch. Let's just make things more like that, people. Yeah, more easy watches, please. So what are you going to give it?
I am going to give it a... I'm gonna give it. Ooh, it's a strong. It's a full crisp packet. I'm just trying to think of the crisp. It's got to be retro because it's old. It's nice. Black and white, so it's got to be an old and crisp. I think it might be a Salt and Shake. Do you remember those Salt and Shake crisps?
So, are you doing Walker's Salt and Shake?
Well, was it Walker's the white bag? The old white bag of Salt and Shake.
So there is a Walker's one, which is white and blue. I would say absolutely Salt and Shake, and I'm also going to go Salt and Shake, but it's Seabrooks.
Oh, nice. Yeah, old school. You have the power to add as much salt as you want to add. You're sprinkling a little bit of that MCU, sprinkling a little bit of that colour at the end of the programme. Ooh, spice it up a little bit. But it's an old school snack that we all love and enjoy, and it's bursting at the seams. What a glorious thing to watch.
Right, well, I feel like that's Werewolf by Night. I feel like we've done the episode there, Forrest. What's next?
We are travelling next week, I believe, to something that I actually can't wait to watch again. We watched it first in the cinema together, and it is Black Panther. It's Black Panther 2. So this is some heartbreaker moments in this one. First one without Chadwick. And yeah, it's a great film.
I'm looking forward to watching this. A second time round. Yes, we've both watched it together. So Wakanda Forever. Here we go. Let's go.
Here we go.
Excited.
So, got Wakanda Forever, just so to keep you abreast of what the rest of the month looks like. So, next week is Black Panther. Following week, we're the end of Phase 4. So, we're doing a Phase 4 summary.
Finally.
Yeah, well, what a long period Phase 4 is. But I Am Groot, we're going to look at in the same week because it's a bunch of shorts. So Phase 4 summary with I Am Groot, and then at the very end of Feb, we got news and rumours with hopefully some Deadpool 3 big time news.
Yeah.
So that's what we're hoping. That'll be the rest of the month, and then Phase 5 by March. And then once we're done with that, we will inform you what we're doing next.
That's exciting times, because we're going to be caught up, and then we're going to be having a whole new format on this podcast. So it's going to be so exciting. I cannot wait, mate.
Loads of new things and big changes afoot. Lovely. Talking about big changes, you listeners will be noticing more social media as we pump out more reelage for each episode. We've come across a useful tool, which is not mad.
Oh, hang on.
Because Matt couldn't be bothered to do his one job for the podcast, so he is removing his role. So you'll either way, you will notice more social media being put out there. We have got to do a live soon, so we might find we could do a live at the end, like to maybe open Phase 5 with a live. Who knows?
I think maybe we do something in March, a little live in March. We haven't celebrated 2,000 followers on Instagram. Like there's so many things we need to catch up on. But like it's very exciting. There's going to be so much more coming out in terms of content going forwards. Man, I'm excited, brother. I'm excited.
I'm so excited. I was just having a look what episode we are now on, because actually, like you say, we're coming up to episode 100, which would make sense to do.
Oh, should we do it on
100th episode? So we are.
Thank you for joining our admin meeting, dear listener. If you're still listening right now, you haven't gone. That's commitment.
It was such a good podcast, such an analytical, strong podcast, and now we're just we're back into planning what we're doing with our lives. So this is the 87th podcast. So in 13 podcast time, we'll be on podcast 100.
Okay.
Wow, we were.
Forrest, see us out with a song that's situated around the theme of the number 87. Off you go, buddy.
Boom, 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 boom. When the night is 87, oh, night 87. When the werewolf starts to woo, it's 87. Oh. Don't know what it means. But yeah, there you go.
right,
Thanks for that, Matt. Yep.
You're welcome, buddy.
That's all right. Ta-ra for now. Bye now.
Shut your pants there. Bye.